Communication skills are important no matter what we do. But for the sake of this video, we're going to break down its importance in two parts. Why is communication important in your professional lives as well as our personal lives? Starting off with professional, first point is that it helps us improve crisis management. In times of crisis, number one thing that we need is solid communications. When an organization is going through a hard time, it needs to ensure that it's communicating the right message to the right people at the right time. And it's only then when we have the highest chance to overcome that crisis and see the other side. According to a study, companies lose $64 million a year because of poor communication skills. And it can all be avoided if we just spend more time on teaching people how to communicate effectively as opposed to just focusing on the technical skills. Next point, it promotes team building. People don't quit their jobs. Most of the time, we quit our bosses. And team leaders and managers need to realize that as long as communication takes place correctly, a lot of the mistakes and stresses that are caused because of bosses, peers, or subordinates can be dropped. What we fail to realize over here is that communication also involves listening. And if our managers or bosses simply took the time to listen more to us, it would help promote team building so much more. Picking up from that point, it also helps reduce absenteeism and turnover rates. Attrition rates is such a big problem in so many companies, and it only happens because we don't take the time to put through certain information correctly. A lot of company owners claim that they genuinely care about their employees and are not sure why so many of them keep leaving. But if that care is not communicated correctly in the form of money, holidays, perks, whatever it might be, the employees don't care about a superficial, caring boss. Next point, client and customer relations. It's pretty obvious. The better we can communicate, the better relations we can keep with the people who keep the business running. If we don't know how to maintain relations with the client, it's more likely than not that at some point or the other, they'll find somebody who does this job better or at a cheaper rate than us and simply move on. But if we have a relationship with somebody, we always have an upper hand. And the next point, sales. Selling is the bloodline of any business. And learning how to become a better communicator also involves learning to develop our persuasion skills, which in turn helps us sell more. Selling is one of the most valuable skills for you in any company. And if we can learn how to sell, we've not just increased our own value, but also the value that the company can gain via our skills. Okay, now going on to our personal lives. First point, it opens up new doors of opportunities. Being better communicators and better public speakers and presenters help us get so much more from everything that we do. When I was in college, I had a friend who was just so confident and good with communications that whenever there was a college festival or events happening, he would always be called on to host these particular shows. And it was only because he could communicate so well to large audiences. And now he gets paid good money to host events way after college is even over. Next point, it helps solve conflicts. You know those people who we always go to when we have a problem? The reason why we choose to go to them as opposed to anybody else, besides the fact that we probably trust them, is mostly because they have great listening skills. And we spoke about this earlier as well, that communications is not just about speaking, it's also about being an active listener. And if we can listen intently and communicate our points with poise and ease, we'll be in such a better place to solve conflicts when they do occur. The reason fights may go out of hand is because both parties keep yelling and raising their voice to beat the other person or finding the next mean thing to say. But if you can listen intently and respond accordingly, it'll be so much easier to solve these conflicts. Moving on, it helps to express our ideas and personal needs. At any place, if you're sitting in a brainstorming session, sometimes the best ideas do not get selected. But the ones that do are the ideas that are communicated correctly. If we have a desire or we want to express an opinion, there's a certain way to say it. If you just blab it out, it's usually not going to go well. But if we put a story behind it, put some emotion behind it, that's when the idea holds a lot more weight and meaning, because it just comes across as something that's bigger than what it might seem. And learning how to communicate and storytell like this will help us express our ideas and personal needs so much more, and it increases the chances of those ideas being bought if we can just put it out there in the correct way. And lastly, communications helps us stand out from the crowd. If two people go for an interview and they both have the same technical knowledge and skills, but one person can speak better, just be more conversational, smile more, have better non-verbal skills, who do you think the interviewer is going to pick? And that applies to every situation. So many times it doesn't matter how much knowledge we have. If we can't put that knowledge across correctly, we lose half the battle. And that's about it. How communication is important in our personal as well as professional lives. If you have any more questions around things like communications or public speaking, we have an entire website with in-depth articles and resources dedicated just for that. So go check out franticallyspeaking.com.